Hello, this is Bradley Lau once again from Shoot for the Money, and I want to talk more about the exposure triangle or how to shoot in manual mode. I already discussed with the details of it. Now I just want to give you some examples. So, the first way, and again, at the end of the day, the exposure mode, the exposure triangle is about getting more light into your camera. So, first way that I talked about was aperture. Okay, right? The aperture is the hole in the camera, all right, that opens and closes. You want more light, you open it up, that's a lower number. We know there's a price to pay. And so the price to pay is shallow depth of field. So a lot of times you're going to want a shallow depth of field. When you're doing portraits and you see photos where that background is all kind of creamy, all right, and it's called sometimes bokeh. All right, you can look that up where it's all just kind of blurry. The idea is you want to give your attention towards the subject and not have the background be a distraction. All right, makes sense. So if that's your goal, then you know you're going to want to open up your aperture, which is the lower number. So shallow depth, you're going to have a shallow depth of field, and that's great. So that price, you don't mind paying it. I always say there's a price to pay for your light. But however, let's say you're doing a group photo, and in the group, there's a bunch of rows of people, all right? And then maybe even behind that, there's a big sign. And they say, hey, let's take a picture of it's a corporate team, and there's the company, you're outside the building, all right? And so you want not only every layer of people to be in focus, but the sign in the back. Well, let's say for whatever reason it's dark and you need to open up that aperture to get the light. Guess what? You focus on the first row or the second person, maybe in the second row. Stuff in the people in the back rows or the sign behind, it's going to be blurry. All right. So you might say to yourself, I can't pay the price with my aperture. I have to then pay the price on another way. So that's the first example. Second would be we were talking about the ISO. ISO, again, is the camera's sensitivity, the camera's sensor's sensitivity to light. It can enhance what little light you have. And we know the lower the number, the less sensitivity. There's going to be less grain, so you want that. So when I do mostly headshots and portraits, so you don't want grain in those things. So you're going to want to keep your ISO down. But sometimes I might do a corporate event, and it's dark. All right, they're at a bar or something like that, and then they don't want, extra lights or flash, so you have to bring up that ISO. So you bring up the number to, bring it up to 1,000, 2,000 all the time, 3,000. You do what you have to do in order to get the proper exposure. Again, the noise can be removed. It smooths it out. Your softwares, your various softwares, Photoshop, Lightroom, etc. And there's special denoising software as well. So that's not really much to say. But sometimes, so I went to an art gallery, and this guy had these artistic nudes, big blown up in black and white. And it was trying to create a mood, and it was a little blurry. Nothing in focus, nothing lewd, but it was artistic. Really grain. I mean, there was so much grain. So it was the effect. He wanted to create something that had a little roughness to it. All right. So in that instance, he I don't know what it was, but he pumped up that ISO really high. So creatively, you might want that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is your shutter speed. Shutter speed, again, determines how much light's kind of coming in. And when things move, it's going to be a blur. It depends on your subject. I photograph people, all right? They're not really moving, they're standing very corporate-y. So I can kind of get away with a lower shutter speed. And for that, I normally shoot at like 160th, but I can go down to about 100th if I have to. You never want to go like below a 1/60th hand holding, because after a while you're going to move. All right. I used to shoot real estate. So for real estate, you would put your camera on a tripod so you can, let's say, open up the shutter for a long period of time to get a dark room nice and light. You're not moving. Guess what? The room's not moving. So we can, as long as we got the tripod, I'm not going to handhold I'm not going to have any shake. So there's an instance where it's okay. We can have a long shutter speed, or a second. Or do you ever see photos where it's dark city and you see all the trails of the lights, the car lights? That's because of a long exposure. So they're opening it up for, many seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Or if you ever see a landscape image of the water and the water's a little creamy, or a waterfall and it's nice and it's creamy, that's basically the creaminess kind of comes from an long shutter speed. So all that movement blurs, but it blurs kind of pretty. All right. The mountain behind it's not moving, so that stays crisp. All right. So these are the artistic decisions that you're going to have to make. So I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, again, I look forward to answering them for you. I love helping beginners with any questions you may have. I shot many, many, many genres. So leave a comment. Happy to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.